Welcome, Tale-Tellers. I'm back and still sick. Excellent. So, I'm going to do my best on this one because this one was personally sent to me by Forsaken X, and I have to do this story justice. Or try doing it. I'll try and give it justice. A story like you've never heard before, trust me. A paranormal experience involving real people, real deaths, and a cemetery. So, this one is full on. Strap yourself in, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. But before we jump into our creepy story today, let's go through my fan shoutouts because I was woefully ill last time and could not get to it. I was on the way out when I was doing that story. Okay, first, Eden York Knight. Thank you so much for the likes and supporting this channel. I think I missed you last time, so this is a shout out just for you. Seems the York family really likes this channel, and I'm ever grateful. Say hi to your brother for me. Wait, Arkan brother, you legend mate. Thanks for your ongoing support and the fantastic stories you give this channel. Cheers, buddy. Troy Shaw. The attention to detail, mate, always amazes me, and I really appreciate you listening to my channel. It's a pleasure to have a fan like you listening. Sin, thank you so much for listening. When I get some free time, I'll definitely have to pick your brain for some ghostly material. Cheers. Susan Masick. Talk about going on a listening spree. You see, fans, I always say I pay attention to my fans, and trust me, I do. Susan has listened to many, many, many episodes, and I am flattered and lucky to have a fan like her. Thanks, Susan. Tabitha, thank you for the likes. Quasarbolt, thanks as always, mate, for the likes. Zoe the Nightmare DJ and Cat Cave Cinema, both of these awesome people are creators, so check out their channels when you get a chance. And to end off these shoutouts, the Crazy Town podcast. If you like all things weird and wacky and newsworthy, check out this channel. They are great. Okay, before my voice gives out and I'm just croaking, it's a Monday here in Aussie land, and yes, it's the beginning of a week. So let me fight your boredom, kill your lethargy, and enhance your happiness with the creepy tale that's sure to create shivers down your spine. Let's get to it. I'm a 36-year-old male, originally from Texas. Texas was the setting for most of all my encounters. I've seen plenty of creepy and weird stuff in my time, but by far this is the creepiest encounter of all. I was 16 when this happened, and it was around summertime of 1997. The day started like any other Texas summer day, figuring out how to stay cool. I'll call myself Andrew for privacy reasons. Me and my 3 buddies, I'll call them Mike, Tim, and Abe, were sitting in a shady spot, which during the summer is far and few. We wanted to do something, but didn't have a clue on what we could do. Abe pipes up and says, "I've got something to do." I looked at Abe and said, "What is it?" Abe was always coming up with the harebrained ideas. Abe says, "You know the cemetery on Cemetery Road?" Yes, the cemetery was on a road called Cemetery Road. I was like, "Yeah, what about it?" Tim then chimes in, "I bet you can't spend an hour in the cemetery after dark." At which point, Mike tells Tim, "Okay, me and Andrew are game, but what's in it for us?" Abe says $50 for each of you if you can both make it for an hour. Myself and Mike thought, hell yeah, $50, we're all about that. But me being me, I told Tim and Abe, "You're going too, right? That way we can keep the bet legit. Me and Mike can go in, but you two stay out and time us." Now, I'm one guy who doesn't scare easy, so I bet $100 each that we could stay for 2 hours, and that Mike and I will lay on a grave. Abe and Tim seem reluctant at first, but I put out my signature line that was sure to reel them in. "Or are you punk?" And after a comment like that, they couldn't help but be in. Tim and Abe were your regular tough guys, and didn't want to appear like they were wimps in front of their friends. So we carry out the day as always, go to see our girlfriends, play some basketball and eat. We all meet up at my house around midnight. Now, before I take you down my memory lane of creepy and freaky, this cemetery was known by all locals as haunted, and of course, as you can imagine, there's a lot of paranormal activity as a result. Some people had claimed to see shadow creatures of sorts, as well as many, many other stories. Of course, we were young and felt invincible. We start the walk to the cemetery, which was about a couple of miles up the road. All the while, Tim and Abe are running their mouths off saying, "We're gonna be the punks and the ones that bitch up." I look at Abe and say, "Nah, we don't have space enough in this group for another bitch. You play the role well enough for all of us." Mike started laughing so hard I thought he was gonna die of laughter. Tim knew well enough to keep his trap shut, cause he knew if he flapped his gum, Mike or myself would shut him down too. So, we're slowly approaching the cemetery, and Abe looks at his wristwatch and says, "Guys, it's exactly 1 a.m. You two go in, and don't come out till 3 a.m. Anything before that, and y'all pay us." Now, this road is very deserted at these hours, so no chance of us getting caught. So, it is 1 a.m., and Mike and I climb the fence to get into the cemetery. No flashlight or anything like that. Mike and I stick side by side and walk through the big-ass cemetery, and of course, under the impression everything is dead, so we're safe. But we were wrong. And I mean, really, really wrong. But I'll get to that. We keep walking through and keep hearing strange noises, but chalk it up to being the dead of night. So, we walk back to the furthest part of the cemetery and choose our respective graves to lie on. And we agree 10 minutes laying on the grave should be sufficient. As you may already realize, Tim and Abe are waiting on the outside of the cemetery for us, timing us the whole time. If I recall correctly, we had been in the cemetery for almost 1 hour. So, we get off the graves and high-five, proclaiming, "Easy money!" And we walk further into the dark, when I feel the coldest breeze ever rush past my back, and I mean ice cold. Mind you, it's Texas, and summer, so it's about 80 plus degrees, so a cold chill wasn't even possible. Mike says he felt the same thing, but again, it's a cemetery. We figured shit like this happens all the time. All of a sudden, a truly chilling and demonic voice says,
"Join us here. It will make it so much easier on you."
Now we know it's neither Tim or Abe. They are too chicken shit to enter here, let alone speak in a voice or tone close to what Mike and I heard. Again, that chilling breeze, and we both froze in our tracks, and felt like there was someone behind us. We slowly turn around to see a truly shocking sight. What little moonlight illuminated a large, dark, shadowy figure with menacing, deadish yellow eyes. And that thing had to be well over 7 feet tall, and Mike and I were both 5'10", and the creature towered over us. It spoke again in that tone, that bone-chilling voice.
"Don't run, you're already dead. Let me take your soul."
Screw that. We started running as fast as we could in the dark, with very little moonlight to work with. Mike trips. I stop and help him up, but all of a sudden he says he feels like someone has his leg. And he was right. It was trying to pull his leg from my grip. As scared as I was, no way was I leaving my brother behind. I fought hard and pulled for all I was worth, and finally it let go and we ran. Here is the part that really freaked me out. All of a sudden, something clotheslined me and started to lift me into the air. Mike shouted, "Fuck you, whatever you are! Let Andrew go!" And he lunged towards me and tackled me, and whatever it was, did let me go. We booked it like our lives depended on it. As we began to approach the gates of the cemetery, we again had the need to turn around and look. That creature was inches away from us. Mike and I jumped for it, but as we began to reach the gates, something that felt like some kind of force field kept us from crossing the gates. We kept trying to get out, but still no luck. So we ran the length of the fence to the other side of the cemetery, and somehow got out at the end. Now I assume that we weren't able to get out because that shadow figure was there behind us. We also assumed it was using some sort of evil force to stop us from leaving, but had no real power apart from that. As we were running towards Tim and Abe, they were laughing and carrying on till the creature appeared outside the gate, and then they all shut up and began to book it as well. That thing was hot on our heels, no matter how fast we ran. All the while, the creature is still yelling things at us.
"Stop running. I will have you all, and I promise you will like it here."
Tim, all of a sudden, collapsed, and Abe kept running, but Mike and I stopped, slung him over my shoulder, and continued to run. He had passed out from fear and adrenaline. We finally made it to the end of the road, and on the next road we looked back and the creature stopped. It seemed he couldn't go any further than the cemetery road. Its final remark is forever etched in my memory. It said,
"No worries. I will have all of you soon enough."
That's the last time we ever went down that road at night. The weird thing was, in 2 years before graduation, both Tim and Abe died mysteriously. Tim died 1 year to the day we adventured that fateful night, and Abe the next year later, again the same time as we had done before. Of course, some chalked it up to coincidence. Mike and I knew better. Out of that group, I'm the only one left alive. Mike died 5 years later again, at the same time we ventured that day. I can only assume I lived because I left Texas and moved to another state. I look forward to sharing another experience, and the next one takes place in the state I moved to. So, if I can offer anyone a piece of good advice, it's this: not everything in the cemetery is at rest. My goodness, this one was full on. Thank you so much, Forsaken X, and I'm looking forward to more of your stories. My condolences to your friends, and what happened to them. And if your hunch is correct, you've made a very positive, life-changing decision. Stay in touch, mate. I'm keen to hear more from you. Just like Forsaken X, if you have a story, your mother, your dad, sister, brother, auntie, grandpa, well, you get what I mean, talk to them, grab their story, and send it through to me at storiesfablesghostlytales@gmail.com. Of course, ask them if they're happy to do so. I don't want to just grab stories from people who don't want to have their story told. But this podcast is growing quickly, by the way, and it's thanks to support like this, and from you fans. So, from leaps to bounds because of you listeners. And no plug today, I just want to say thank you for your support. Whether you're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Overcast, Stitcher, and that's right, you awesome Stitcher listeners, I want to say thanks. You people are fantastic, and I do it just for you. Speaking of just for you, as a side note, if you ever want to listen to me on YouTube, I have a YouTube channel that could use some viewer love at some point, but I mention it only because there are others who don't use podcasts or don't like listening to podcasts, and that's perfectly fine. So I've put a link in the description below if you have friends that just want to listen to me on YouTube. And of course, thanks again. Okay, tale tellers and fans of the creepy, this is the place where stories live, and you tale tellers come to listen. Enjoy your day or night and join me every weekday for our creepy tradition. And as always, till next time.